Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'll be your host for this episode today. You may have noticed it's a longer episode, but that's because I had such an incredible conversation with a coaching student from our community who's doing great. His name is Renee. He's a chiropractor by practice and just has an incredible story of some things that he's recently overcome brilliantly. He continues to have a practice that's very successful, chiropractic in the north side of Georgia. And that's plenty of income. He doesn't actually need another business, but he wanted to use the internet creatively to create something that his family could participate in that would be profitable and meaningful. And he's done just that. Like I said, he's a student of the Proven Amazon course, which hundreds of guests of this show, that's who we typically talk to when we have guests, is successful students using those trainings in the Proven Amazon course to build a beautiful business. Renee has done that. He'll share his numbers. He'll go over how he sources product and all those details. But between the lines, I think you're going to be very encouraged and inspired, again, by some of the things he's overcome on that journey. Just to give you a feel for some of the things we talk about Walmart. We talk about our coaching program. We talk about something called Kickstart, which is for brand new Proven Amazon course students who maybe haven't had that first sale yet, they haven't sent in that first shipment yet. You're a Proven Amazon course student and you want help getting through those first stages, get into a Kickstart group. He talks about that. You can go to silentjimdotcom/kickstart to get details on that. All these links will be in the show notes, by the way. If you're new around here, you might not have known that. We talk about ungating if you're a new seller. Renee has some great advice for you. If you're running into a lot of gating issues, he talks you through how to make sure that you don't get frustrated by that, how he navigated it. And again, his business is doing really well. Every month, his business is getting bigger and bigger, and he'll share that with you. He had his first $1,000 day recently, talks about that, how quickly it came, how he uses Keepa to find great new ASINs. He talks about that. So many other great topics, some of the tools that he's using, he breaks those down. And in between the lines, just a really good conversation from a guy who loves this community, who's been supported and encouraged by this community. And I think it's the definition of giving back when he's been given a lot from this group. He just wanted to give something back. And you can just hear the energy in our conversation today. We talked a long time after the episode was over even, and probably should have kept the recording going because it was just a delight to hang out with him. I think he's got a lot of leadership roles in this community in the future if he has the time for another commitment. But enjoy this conversation with Mr. Rene Acosta. And hey, know this as well. We're in your corner. We love supporting entrepreneurs. So if this story resonates with you today and you're not a part of our group yet, you really need to jump into a very caring, supportive community that wants you to succeed. We're going to celebrate as you succeed. We want to do that with you. If you don't have anyone in your life like that, we'd love to be the community that supports you on your journey towards building a beautiful business. All right, let's jump over and spend some time with Dr. Renee. So, hey, Renee, welcome to the show. Good to see you, man.
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon. I'm very pumped up. As I told you, pre-show, super anxious, a little bit nervous. I'm not a content guy. I don't do a lot online, but this is I'm super excited, and it's a tremendous honor to be here. And I purposely, like someone asked me what would be the title of our journey, because I know I've been around enough and watching enough podcasts that hopefully this will be the first of many that, can kind of mark the progression.
We
And
love
it is,
that.
yeah. And it is our journey. It's me and you and the crew, the MST, and my family is involved in it. So I'm super excited to be with you today. Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. One of my favorite intros ever, man. I can tell. And I know your heart. We've hung out on several Monday Night Lives. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit, but you're just an encourager by nature. You're an overcomer by nature. And there's a story there that I've heard, that I love about you, but let's get into it, man. Let's hear your story and have some fun with this.
Yeah. So initially, the stories, there's not too many chapters between, getting into e-commerce and finding y'all. So there's not a lot there, there's not a lot of heartache in e-com or anything like that. A couple of interesting things there that I'll come back to. But the bottom line is I always was intrigued by the fact that people were making money on the internet, for many years. I'm a chiropractor by career or trade, whatever, I've been a chiropractor a long time. but I always thought it was so cool that people were making money online. And, you know, just like many people, I didn't have any good ideas, I guess. So, and I'm not entirely sure how the Amazon idea came about. Okay. But about Labor Day in 23, right? That's the summer one, right? The or Memorial Day. Which one's first? Labor Day's first, right? In May, about May-ish or April, late May, April, May 23.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think you're
Memorial
right.
Day or Labor Day? Either way, I don't mean to put either one of us on the spot, but yeah, I think it's Labor Day. But anyway, right around that time, I started really pushing myself to do some serious research. Like I was like, you've been thinking about this, you've been, just thinking about it. So let me start doing some serious research. So very quickly, in about a week's time, I dived in. The algorithms catch on. You start getting all the stuff in your feed on social media of the different opportunities that are available with e-commerce and especially Amazon. And so at Labor Day weekend, we go camping. We have an RV. We go camping, and I was really set to, like, that weekend to really pull the trigger and make something happen. Right. So I had started to delve into another group or a couple other groups that I was sort of looking into, and had really was about to pull the trigger on one of them. And it was a sort of a coaching opportunity. And I know that I've told you this story probably like a year ago or so, but anyway, and so this is Labor Day 23. So about April, beginning of May, 2023. So I pulled the trigger on this one coaching opportunity to the point where I tried to send them money to kind of close the deal. Okay. Like, yeah, I'm ready to move forward. Let's do this. And I was trying to do it through Apple Pay, and Apple Pay would not let me send the payment. It was sort of like a just an alert. It triggered some kind of alert. They were concerned that it was not a legitimate transaction.
Okay.
And so, and this was like, and I tried a couple times, to like make that payment work and close that deal. Because like I said, I wanted that weekend to kind of be the start, get going, made a decision. And it just wouldn't happen. Now I have to say, I do not believe at all that coaching organization was a scam. I don't believe that. I don't think that was the case. I mean, I guess there's a possibility, but what for sure it would have been a private label sort of thing. Now that I know what I know now, I don't think I
Yes.
knew it then. I don't think
Right.
I knew it then, but I think I know that I know it now. I look back now, which of course would have been, maybe not disastrous, but I would have been in the 5% that made it if I did, as
Yeah.
you like to point out,
Yeah.
and would have cost a lot more money and all that stuff if it did work, right? So, but in that process, it introduced me to a few other Amazon related softwares and stuff like that. And I caught you on one of them. So it wasn't your podcast, it was you doing a thing for one of the other companies. And there's a couple of things, but anyway, I liked you right away, just your presence and everything on video and the way you talk. But you had mentioned Tom Landry and the Dallas Cowboys in that talk, and
Mm,
I'm a Cowboys fan,
there you
and
go.
I'm 54, so I grew up with the winning Cowboys, when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Back
So
when they were cool. Yeah.
exactly, I know. So
Back when
now
we
I'm
could
just
all like the
a.
Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm just a frustrated, I can't watch their games anymore.
Oh no, I haven't watched
But
the Cowboy
but you
games
mentioned
in
Tom Landry.
yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's horrible. But anyway, that was like my thing. Oh, that was a note from God. That was it. This is the guy,
Hmm.
and that was it. And then it was just a very quick process of getting put into the Facebook group, the MST, discovering Pack. And so pretty much I think by the end of May or June, I had bought into the Pack, and I did the full buy-in. I did the $1,000 for life kind of thing or whatever. And I guess what's important to say, and a couple of things that I want to say, while I could just overlap a couple of things. That number one, because the importance of doing this is obviously to encourage other people. And I want people to know that, I mean, I didn't know anything about e-commerce. I didn't know anything about Amazon, nothing. And not good with numbers. I did not know what a net margin was or how to figure it out or anything like that. None of those things. So, and I'll come back to that again, because I do want people to know that this is not, for me, it's not been easy. It's not an easy business. And there's some other factors there, because I also have to throw in that, I was not looking for, a way out of my career. I love my career. I serve about 450 patients visits a week. I love what I do. I want to do it forever. So it wasn't that, I wanted to do something to just making money online. I was intrigued by that. I wanted to create something that I could employ my children,
Hmm.
because I didn't want to give them money. And that was maybe a 2 or 3 year goal, doing something for the boys. And then the 10-year goal was to, have something that, if we wanted to retire, if I wanted to walk away from chiropractic, that we could, from the RV on the road, I could kind of piddle with the online business. So those were the motivations.
Makes
And
sense.
here's the irony of all ironies. Yeah, I also wanted to do something that was not about relationships, which is so funny. I mean, because my career has been relationships. That
People
is what I
constant.
do. I
Yeah. Right.
I, I love on people, and then they love on me, and that's my life. That's my job. That's what I do. And so I wanted to have a true business experience. I guess it was also another motivation. And what's funny is it wasn't long within one or two podcasts that I started watching your podcast. Of course, you said it's all about relationships, and I just said, of course it is. It's like, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought I was going to get away from that, and it was like, no,
Just from a
no,
spiritual standpoint, God never lets us get away from relationships. If we're following the
yeah,
path He has us on, it
yeah,
involves more relationships and better relationships, right? So it's kind of like
100%.
if we say, God, I just want to get away from relationships, His answer is going to be no every time. Like it's
Yeah,
just,
the
right?
irony, it was just ridiculous because then I get thrown in the group, my silent team, which I love that, and and of course you being involved in that and everything. But there's other people in that group, like Gail. I have to mention her specifically because
Yeah.
she's a
Incredible.
saint.
Yes.
I mean, just a saint.
Hmm.
And Robin Joy, have
Hmm.
to. So I signed up on the pack, and just to again reiterate, just I felt like I had just gotten the curriculum for an entire college education, you know, downloaded, and I was way, 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 way overwhelmed. I mean, way overwhelmed. I didn't know. Again, and there's all kinds of stuff getting thrown around everywhere, right? So when you see new sellers, are like, and now I can see it now when I'm in the group and you see somebody that's just totally messed up. They bought a pallet of something and listed on something they weren't supposed to, and
Hmm.
so 'cause it's confusing, and and if you're doing it like me, getting into it and not even being able to figure out what a net margin is. I mean, I was way in. So I did it. So, but I mean, I can't say enough about the community in the Facebook group that you put there because because all the help, and because that's another issue. That's another thing. I just when I talk, I'm just going to layer things in there because it's kind of like I had somebody contact me in Messenger and they were like, "Hey, should I coach or should I do the free stuff?" And I was like, "You can go either way." I mean, it's like I can't believe how much free stuff is given out for stuff I paid for as a
Yeah.
member
Yeah.
of the community.
Well,
I mean, it's just
I talked to someone yesterday, Renee, who has a multiple $1 million business in our community. They didn't do e-commerce before they started with us. And he said, man, I got a confession to make. He's like, man, I appreciate you guys so much, but I've never bought anything. I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
and he was apologetic. And I'm like, no, that's beautiful. I mean, if our free stuff is that
beautiful,
good,
yeah,
that's a great advertisement for our paid. Because the
yeah,
only difference to me
yeah,
is, do you want to go further faster? Or do you want to kind of take
hmm,
your time, weeks, months, figure it out as
hmm,
on your own and kind of wander around and pick it up, absorb it here and there? If you're ready to go
hmm,
further faster, get a coach. If you
yeah,
want to take your time and you're skeptical, or maybe just like you're someone who likes to learn and listen all day, and hey, that's great. Our free stuff works. It's the same stuff. It
yeah.
really is. I mean, here I am
It
saying it. My team hates when
is.
I do that, but I'm like,
It
it's
is.
all we don't hide
But
the
it's
secret
true.
sauce behind a curtain somewhere.
It is true. The couple of things I would throw in for the coaching, and but first of all, you have to do the pack. I mean, you just have to because it's just kind of like elementary, high school, and a couple of years of college. That again, if you don't know how to figure out a net margin, you gotta buy in the pack. You have to do that, and
Well,
open a
just so
seller
you
account
probably
and all
haven't heard
that.
this number, Renee. Let me share a number with you. We've put $120,000 into the Proven Amazon course in the past year alone, just in development and the graphical user
Mhm.
interface and cleaning it up. And so we know the
Yeah.
difference between a brand new seller who's completely clueless or someone who's only bought one module and they don't have
Hmm.
access to the rest of it. It's a really tightly run machine that are constantly improving. So yeah, it's for $39 a month. It's an
Yeah.
incredible
It's
deal. I'm
It's
proud of
insane. It's actually totally insane. Really, it really is. And so I started there, and then you do the podcast. And so initially, I got to say this too because there's again layering things. I just have to say I wasn't trying to run back home. Like I'm not a dad that's trying to get back home. I mean, I already
it.
have 3-day weekends, and I love my career, so it wasn't that situation. And so for me, one of the benefits also that is not mentioned. You don't mention very much, which I think you should. It's just about the coaching and just the in general. The coaching is that it gives you a level of efficiency. So I mean, if you only have 15 hours a week to put in, okay, if you're not going full time, like me, I can shoot a text, an email. Can you look at this graph for me? Hey, this came up, that sort of thing, and it just makes it more efficient. So yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those people that got the 30K a month in 90 days, and I know coaching can do that. I know it can. But for me, it was more just like, hey, I only got 15 hours a week or so,
Yeah.
and
I want to
it
make the
makes it
most of it.
efficient.
Yeah.
I want to make the most of it. It,
That's a
it makes
great
it more,
point. Yeah.
yeah.
To me, that's
It-
kind
it-
of almost assumed in the go further faster, but stated the way you did is a pretty strong, just from a marketing vantage point. It's like, hey, you only got 15 hours, make the most of them, right?
yeah,
Let's cram 40 hours of progress into those
totally.
15 hours because you're not stumbling around in the dark with a blindfold on. Yeah.
Let me make the decision and then learn it on the back end. So in other words, instead of I can just shoot a text, hey, what do you think of this? Yeah, that's good. Okay, good. And then I could go back and I could figure out why it was good. But in the
Yeah.
meantime,
And
we can get that rolling. We
you're
can get that
referring
thing
to
rolling.
the reactive nature with our coaching program. We don't talk about it very often unless someone calls it and it goes into depth on it. But you
Right.
have a proactive and a reactive, and your reactive is someone you can reach out to and ping and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And then you have sessions that are like hour long discussions and
Yeah.
moving you forward. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out, man. You
Yeah.
become a big advocate for what we do around here, and
Yeah.
man, I appreciate you. I think you're helping a lot of people. You're encouraging a lot of people already with
Well,
just
I'm glad.
your demeanor and energy about the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep going, man.
Well,
You're doing great. I don't have to
yeah.
say a thing, and this is going to be a great
Yeah.
episode, I think.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So May, then I joined the Kickstart Bootcamp, which I also always recommend. Always, always, always. And of course, that's just about getting one rep in, is just setting up your seller account, finding something to send in, how to package it up, how to send it in. And, that's wonderful because it's going to force you through, to like get over the jitters. And it's a landmine. I don't know. Like, again, every bit of it has been so hard for me, but as you know, everything has to be perfect. You have to, whether you LLC or sole proprietor or this or that or name or title or address, every single thing. And so that's just some great, hand holding. I mean, there's I don't know. You have to be a genius to get through that on your own. Just that part. Just so that first rep Kickstart Boot Camp was huge. Was a big deal. I think it's a lot more value than what the fee is for it. That's just my personal opinion because you're essentially getting coaching and direct answers and contact and good information.
Well, that's a
And
strategic thing we decided a long time ago, Renee, when we launched this coaching training organization over 20 years ago with same coaching director still in place, just has a heart of gold. And we said everything we launch, everything we sell, everything we do, we want there to be a 10x between the price and the immediate received value of the program or the offer or the module.
yeah,
That's why our prices are just insane.
yeah,
They're
insane.
ridiculously low. But that's what it's
They
allowed
are.
us. Ultimately, the goal was we wanted to have the largest community of business
Mhm.
building warriors using the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple income streams. And we knew the synergy of such a group would lead to all kinds of opportunities for all of us. So we didn't want the price barrier to leave out some otherwise very creative,
Totally.
experienced people who are like, I can't spend $2,000 on that, man. Okay, what if it's 39, right?
Yeah,
Get them in,
$39, man.
get them
Yeah,
into the community,
yeah,
blow them away with
yeah,
what they receive for
yeah,
$39 and build a community of
yeah,
people like that are being overserved, and that's paid off. It's the long way to
yeah,
play the game. It's a heavy investment on the front end.
yeah,
Another way to look at it is we put the resources and money and time and energy in on the beginning so that our customers don't have to. They pay us back over the long haul as they become fans, know, like, and trust us. And they come to an event
yeah,
maybe 5 years
yeah,
after they joined our community, right? So
yeah,
that's the play. And it's paid off.
yeah.
It's been the long play though, for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it because I think it also, it's just so much integrity and, generosity. And so it really can keep a lot of people from some serious missteps,
Yeah.
so, and, I know you've been around a long time and I've been on many of the Monday night calls and, there are a lot of folks that, they're trying to make a run at it and they don't have, they can't lose $100, so so it matters. It matters. And I know it's genuinely helping people. So, but the community, I can't say enough about the community. I really can't. Just that alone, just being in that group alone. So I did the Kickstart boot camp, which I graduated from. I'm alma mater of June. I can't remember the exact date. It was June 23. And I started just, doing my best. I think the first things that I, sold were things that I found in the house. Hey, babe, you're not going to open this and wear this, are you? And just sent in some things and started just, creating. And I guess I got to go back and just say that, it was a period of time of what you call intense focused effort.
Mm-hmm.
I was burning the candle at both ends, every, moment when people say I'm sourcing and can't find nothing, I'm like, I know what that's like to
We
be
all
out
start
about
there.
smoking my cigar out here on my patio and, it's starting the morning and it's nighttime. And I don't think I have found anything. I know exactly what that is. So it's just that kind of intense focused effort, like you said at the beginning, there was, at one point I had to just stop, like maybe 6 or 7 months later. I was like, okay, I got to quit working on Sundays. I was just fried. So that there was that intense focused effort and I was getting things rolling and I started a procedure of shipping in every Friday. So I was getting things together and every Friday I was packing up and sending something in. And about 3 weeks, about 3 weeks in, I started having some blurring. Man, I might cry and I can't believe that because anyway, I don't mean to do that. So
That's all right,
anyway,
man. You speak from the heart, brother. I appreciate you.
yeah, this is really where I think the value of the whole deal is at, So about 3 weeks in, I started experiencing some blurriness in my eye. And I had just gotten a new prescription. So it was kind of, hey, maybe it's just the prescription. And let's see. Well, that was in May. So that actually was starting to happen in May. So there's this overlap. I had just finished boot camp and maybe 2 or 3 weeks in, this is all starting to happen. And anyway, I started having a problem with my left eye and I was diagnosed long story short with metastatic melanoma. So it was a tumor in my eye. And I'd gone, and I mean, I'm in the Atlanta area, so we have the absolute best doctors possible. I didn't get a second opinion. I got 3 opinions. I saw, surgical oncologist that wrote the book on all of it and all that. So, but within a 3-week period of time from discovering I was having a problem to seeing 3 different doctors, okay, and the oncologist basically saying, we got to scan your body, okay, and we need to take your eye out. Because the tumor had gotten so big, so aggressively, so fast that any kind of treating of it would have destroyed my eye anyway. So, okay. And I said, okay, well, what's first? And she said, well, whatever's scheduled first, you'll do first. So the very next 2-3 days later, I did an MRI. And on a Thursday, I had my eye taken out surgically. Enucleation is what the medical term is. And so anyway, from beginning to end, where they took my eye out was a 3-week period of time. Okay.
That's
And
intense, man.
yeah, and I'm still not stopping, sourcing and being in the group and trying to figure out the business and
I
any of that.
I remember, just to pause for a moment, because I know you're not going to, you're unlikely to mention what I'm about to say as part of your story, but I was blown away, and there's a handful of people that have done this, by your resilience. Like, yeah, I had my eye taken out a couple days ago, but man, I'm, and it's not that you had to make this work either. You had a great career, you still do, but you were determined, and you weren't going to let this hold you back. And the thing for me was attitude. The attitude. There's a famous video that comes to mind, and I'm not trying to throw off your story, but this is the mental image I have when I think of you, Renee. Is there's this famous video of this track race. I think it's females, if I remember. And right out of the gate, one of them just falls on her face hard, but she pops up immediately. But still, in a 1 lap race, quarter mile race, those 4 seconds, 5, 6 seconds, or just like, she's going to be lucky to even finish, right? She fights her way back and wins. And I've always had if we all have this respect for these people that can bounce up fast. That's what gets me in that video. Not that she eventually wins, but that she bounces up so fast. It's like, you can't keep me down.
Yeah.
I still got my mind, I still got my hands, still got my family loves me, still got God.
Yeah.
Here we go. And
Yeah.
that struck me. You're one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. But you could be still curled up in a corner, feeling sorry for yourself, and you're not. And I just huge accolades, man. It's a great story. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. The thing that impressed me about your story was the resilience, how quickly you bounced back up.
Yeah.
Like it didn't keep you down. Like you didn't let it keep you down, and you arguably could have.
Hmm.
You could be still curled up in a corner, feeling sorry for yourself, waiting for
Hmm.
some government check to come save you because life is horrible now. You didn't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That is so admirable, man, and I'm
Thank you.
inspired by it and encouraged by it.
Thank you.
Would you take like? It seems to me like a few minutes, and you're like, all right, well, here we go. Life
Yeah.
goes on.
What I was just saying is that they took my eye out. The very next day was Friday, and it was a shipment day. So I mean, I got up. I had my patch all over. I was probably groggy. I say, babe, we got to get this out today. And she was like, what? She was like, okay. It was like, pack up. It's Friday. Got to ship, and made a shipment the next day. And
Man, that's incredible.
and I think that's the point that really needs to be made, was that, that in a sense, it's like yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I just wanted to do this business. I wanted to figure out a way to, so it gave me something to do. So during this period of time and that early diagnosis, when they took my eye, it just, it gave me something to do. It was like a life raft, it gave me something else to focus on. You know, I didn't, spend a lot of time, feeling bad or feeling sorry for myself or anything like that.
It's
And that
just
was actually,
incredible.
yeah. Yeah. So it's a
I
life
mean,
raft. It gave me something to do.
you hear the motivational speakers say things like, don't focus on the loss, focus on the lesson, right? And we're like, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, well, I'm pretty
Yeah.
good at that. Well, what if someone takes your eye or your arm or life
Right.
just
Yeah.
whacks you? Like, do you still have that attitude? Are you still able to find that place?
Yeah.
Obviously, you are. And again,
Yeah.
man, it's just so encouraging. You've got leadership and future roles in this community and others. Whoever's
Yeah.
blessed to be able to work with you. I mean, it just speaks volumes for the integrity of your determination, your
So
resilience.
thank you. But
It's
thank you
incredible.
though. You thank, because that community is ate up with this, ate up with resilience and the can do attitude. And so, if my network, my new relationships were, you know, a bunch of people trying to tell me to go, take some time off, or but that's not the community. You
Yeah, and we around here we say things like,
know?
"Hey, if you get knocked down, try to land on your back because if you can look up, you can get up." Right? And we say
Exactly.
it,
Yeah.
you hear it, and you're surrounded by people thinking that way. It rubs
Yeah.
off, and it helps you through
100%.
moments like this.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the right people around. Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm not going to let down Jimmy Smith just because I lost an eye. Or,
You're amazing, dude. You
So,
are amazing.
but anyway, and then so even just to follow through on that, that was actually tail end of, we were going into July. So that was July 4th weekend. That Friday, the shipment go out. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, my office was closed for July 4th, and I was back in the office on Tuesday, and just working. And it was just one of those things, like several months after, a woman came in to start care with me who had lost a leg.
Mm.
And so I'm doing a consultation with her, and she tells me that it was the first time she had been out of the house in 3 years. And then she's just started to explain that there's just this process with the prosthetic of trying to fit a prosthetic and make one custom, but the nub, can shrink or swell. And so it's a painful, arduous process for this person to adapt. And for me, being a chiropractor, I don't even need my eyes. Now it might make things I could adapt. I mean, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have rebounded that quickly without a leg. So it is one of those things, like it can always be worse. And in my case too, it is a metastatic cancer. So every 6 months I go get scanned, but so far everything's clear and doing all that. So it's just a constant process of, but anyway, just some people have it a lot worse. They're a lot, once you go through something like this, you're kind of, adopted into the cancer, community. And the stories and the things that I've heard and that I'm now more aware of is like, imagine being, so I'm in Atlanta, and I was talking about how great we have medical here. I've heard stories of people with cancer that have to fly from, Tennessee into Atlanta every week, to get some kind
Yeah,
of treatment or something.
yeah.
So,
And then
so anyway, so
I had a mentor of mine text me and said, "Hey, the doctors have just given me, a few months. Love you, appreciate you. I mean, just
yeah,
got one of these rapid cancers that just took his life, within
yeah,
4 or 5 months." of
Yeah.
knowing he even had it to done. Dan Miller, so I'm talking about. I don't know if you ever had the chance to get to know who he was, but a mentor who really helped me get. He's the one who encouraged me to start this podcast.
Love it.
You got to have a
It's
podcast. It's such
beautiful.
an intimate medium. You'll get right into the ears of your community, and they'll grow an affinity for you that's not possible any other way. And I'm like, really? He's like, you've got to do
Mm.
it. So I miss Dan to this day.
Yeah.
A great leader, great mentor. But yeah, so
Yeah.
absolutely,
If
you
we're,
don't have to look
if
very
we're,
far to find people who got it worse.
yeah, if we're not,
Great
and we're not
perspective.
careful, we'll start talking about religion here in a minute. Because the
Yeah.
bottom line is, because a lot of people will say, well, how did you, you know, part of it is, when I got the diagnosis, I was not praying to God to fix my eye or to save my life. I just wanted to make sure my bags were packed and I was going to the right place, to be honest with you. And that's just,
Mhm.
I don't want to get too testimonial about things, but we all go,
Yep.
now or later. So, I mean,
Mhm.
ultimately, you better know you're going to the right direction, the right
Yeah.
place,
Well,
that sort of thing.
many of
But
us on the leadership team of this community consider this our ministry. And
yeah,
meaning we want
I
to draw
knew
people
that.
closer to God. And I mean, you've been on our Monday
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
hangouts. We do it every Monday. Anyone in our
Yeah.
Facebook group can jump in there and hang out with us. And I close it in prayer
Yeah.
unapologetically, because I know that's the
Yeah.
most powerful thing that I can speak into someone's life is that.
Yeah.
But if I earn
100%.
their trust with business content and helping them grow a beautiful business and get their finances in order, that's awesome. Now I've earned a right to have a conversation with you about possibly more meaningful things. And
Yeah.
that's what we do here. But
Yeah. But I guess that's important for me to say, because so many times, again, not to get too, but it's really not that thing's not about getting rich or God making everything right and rosy for you. That's not what that's about.
mhm.
That's not.
Nope.
Yeah. So anyway, just to get into some nuts and bolts, I mean, I'm just kind of one of those every month, do we do better in revenue? The 1,500 becomes the 3,000, the 4,500, the 7,000. And of course, as you know, in November was our first 10K month. And this month we're past that. I don't know where it's going to go this month, but so Q4 has been good. Has been good for us. Has been, good. So it's a real thing, Q4. And the funny thing is that I've not done anything any different. My coach said, hey, just send in more of your best sellers.
Mhm.
And that's all that I did. I just made sure. And again, the coaching thing and the efficiency thing and all that stuff. Shout out to Travis and Grant. Those are my two coaches, the best by far.
I go to church
And
with Travis. Yeah, good dude,
yeah,
man.
I know. Yeah, very good. And that's a whole nother. I could get in all the magic that is like the two personalities and like how that helps me. I don't know. A lot of this is innately driven, because I think one of the things about me is like, while everything is super, super, super hard for me, when I get it, nobody's going to do it better than me, because then it's like internal and internalized and innate. And there's some of that symbiosis between the two styles of coaching that I get that I can't even put a words onto it, but they have two different styles,
Right.
but doing the same thing,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's been extremely beneficial. But anyway, and then today's another $1,000 day. It's the second one that we've ever had, and the second one in this month. And then, numbers wise, generally, I've had 14% net margin months, and I've had 6% net margin months. I think we run steady at about 8. And that includes paying my kids, which is what I and all the and I'm a software guy. I have all of it, probably more than I should have. So that eats up a lot of my, I have a lot of expenses there. So it includes all that. But for me, a lot of that is just, when I'm sourcing, it just depends on where my headspace is at. If I want to do some easy fishing and just go to the same fishing hole, hit up a Nepeto or something like that, or if obviously got to have Keepa. If I want to find something, I love to like really the rabbit trailing. I really love that. It's a lot harder, but I make it hurt. Like, I just like when I'm sourcing that way, I try to like, no, that's too easy. That's, and just trying to find things that are, very rare, and I'm laughing right now, because one of my strategies you gave away on a Monday night call, which is what I can't believe there's not more people on the Monday night call. I mean, I'm not joking, because you just sit there, listen, and again, it's like all the free coach in the world. But, one night you said, because you say things so, nonchalantly, you just throw it out there. You're like, hey, just find something with, where you're the only FBA and, there's some, couple FBMs on it. And I picked that up one night, and and I ran with it. And then,
Mhm.
like, when everybody else is talking about, hey, find, at least three FBAs, I'm like, no, I want to find only FBMs, make sure it's not hazmat, you know,
Yeah.
and I ran with that. And like, I think that's why we broke 10K last month, because like the product that's selling, there's just a ton of FBMs. I'm the
Mhm.
only FBA or two or
Mhm.
three others, on a
Mhm.
fast moving ASIN.
Yep.
And and that was given to me on a Monday night call. I didn't even pay
Yeah.
for it. I was laughing. I
Here
was
we are
laughing
giving it on
after.
a podcast.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
it yeah,
yeah,
it's a great tip. I mean, my favorite
yeah,
example
yeah,
of that, a coaching student who sold 2,400 units in a few weeks, a
yeah,
new coaching student, because he found a product that had a bunch of FBM sellers all over it.
yeah,
Coach at
yep,
Phil. He's like, I'm going to jump on their FBA as the highest price of all of them. And he sold
yeah,
2,400 units because shoppers like speed. And the
yep,
sooner you realize that, sometimes people say, well, yeah, I know shoppers like speed, but I still got to win the buy box. It's like, no, you
yep,
don't. You do not
yep.
have to win
No,
the buy box. Shoppers like speed, meaning if you got your inventory in warehouses near shoppers, they're going to
hmm
pay a lot more money to get it to their front porch quickly.
I'm very shocked still all the time at how many suppressed buy boxes I'm on. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Those are
Yeah.
beautiful ASINs. A suppressed
hmm
buy box, you've heard me say it before, is just Amazon saying, we really don't like what shoppers are willing to pay for this ASIN.
Right.
That's all it
Right.
is. If
Yeah.
it's a suppressed buy box, it's Amazon saying, hey, smart sellers, pay attention. You can make a lot of money right here. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Yep. And it's so along those lines. Just I you have to. I think early on, I think that I know that we say you only need the app and Keepa, but I do think knowing numbers, that's a big deal. And so for me,
Yep.
especially like, because I just am so bad with them, that so the first to give me some numbers was Replen Dashboard,
Mhm.
which I have to throw out there because it's so freaking cheap for a new person that there's no reason not to get that. Just there really isn't, and because it just gives you something. It guides you very easily. And another thing about it, that it just kind of reminds me about everything about where I'm at right now, understanding things on different. And I'm using Replen Dashboard in ways that I didn't know the first 6 months or so that you could use it for my sourcing. It does a bunch of stuff, but initially, when you're new and you're like, well, how many do I send, or what are the numbers? It has a basic. I don't go by those numbers, but at the beginning, it was just so easy for a new person, and it had that dual function of telling you when to send something in and how much to send something in of when you're wandering, and some basic math, and so I had to throw that in. And to be honest with you, they might as well do a seller board. And I know that you have the system too now, but I'm a seller. I have been doing seller board
We love
because,
seller
again, it's
boards.
just, you talk about software. It's $20 a month. You would
Mhm.
not believe what it could do. I mean, when I
Mhm.
show people, I showed my coaches some of the stuff that I'm doing on seller board. They're like, I didn't know you could do that. They're like, that. There's, you can do everything. And I'm constantly, again, going back to like what I said earlier, which is kind of where I'm at right now is, and you've talked about it before too, like just in time learning is like, I'm starting, you at first you're just looking for drops, and, you're just looking for, does it have drops? Does it have velocity? Can I break even? What's the historical high price I could start at? Boom. But then you turn into, okay, how many times was Amazon in and out of this, or what's the sales rank doing, or what was the, like me and my coach the other day, we were looking at one. I have a great ASIN, and he said, wow, it's selling great right here. But he said, but look over here. You see this over here? You see that velocity? And then this is where you're selling right now. But if you go back to 3 months, you see that velocity right there? And you see that price is just a little bit lower than where you're at right now, but you could still make money there. He said, why don't you go ahead and when that stuff gets checked in, drop it to this price. Let's see how fast it sells for a few days. Because maybe you want to sell more of it. And,
Right.
you could, sure, you're making more profit here, but if you can send in double the amount for just a little bit less. So now we're doing that kind of stuff, which I love. So it's like, just kind of understanding those little nuances and getting you're just learning, you learn, you go, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. And seller boards like that. So, and seller board for a while, that was like, if I want to get my feelings hurt, check in on my dashboard, like if you think you're making money, check in on the dashboard first. Because they'll catch every single, like I've heard you say it before, they catch every Amazon fee, everything, the refunds, everything is calculated for you. and it's dirt cheap too. $20 a month, and it holds the numbers for you. As long as you put in your cogs. So I wanted to make mention of those things
Yeah.
because I know some new
And it's
people
easy to
watching
turn
these
on too. So easy to turn on.
so
Yeah.
easy,
A
so easy.
great sponsor of the show. And we send people to, there's actually a discount offer since we mentioned it prominently
Yep,
today. silentjimdotcom/numbers is the
yep,
link. And yeah, a lot of
yep.
users in the community just swear by it. And yeah, it's a beautiful tool for sure. Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I've got to remind you that Seller Board is the sponsor for today's episode, and they're doing such a tremendous job supporting this community and this podcast. So many happy users. Many of the leaders on our team use this tool. What does it do? Well, among many other great features, it helps you know which of your products are profitable. All those Amazon fees and expenses, you can finally know exactly how much money you're making on the different products that you're selling, which ones you should be paying more attention to, and which ones you should probably cut out. Don't use your intuition or instincts to make these decisions. Use a tool that tells you the numbers. Sellerboard is very easy to set up. It's very thorough, very detailed, has a great reputation among many, many, many sellers in our community. Hundreds of us are using it. So thank you for sponsoring this community Seller Board. Jump over to silentjim.com/numbers and check out the offer they have for this community. Just a few dollars gets you started. Let's get back to today's show. Prominently
Yep,
today, silentjim.com/numbers is the
yep,
link. And yeah, a lot of
yep.
users in the community just swear by it. And yeah, it's a beautiful tool for sure.
Yeah, and it just, again, new people. If you're, because you have a few different types of people in this community, right? You got people that used to be wholesalers that bounce in, or people that have their own spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are like a nightmare for me. It's
Mhm.
like so if you're new and you're like me, Seller Board is so cheap, and it will help you. You'll knowing the numbers is key, and you can know them sooner than you think. Is that's the point? Because I eventually you got to do it, but you could really do something like that from the beginning,
Yeah.
because you're going to have to do it anyway, and it does help you to start learning along the way. And I just make mention of that for new people. So as far as the business, right now the 2-3 year plan, about getting the boys some money, that's already happening. So, they do my, prep and pack, on the dining room table. Now, sometimes I got to beg them, or it's like herding cats to take a bath. But, you know, I've told my 14-year-old, I'm like, hey, man, you're either going to be on the bus when you're 16, or you're going to be in the car that you buy. So, so the beautiful thing for me is, like, one of the biggest goals or biggest dreams I could ever had for this business was to give my kids something to do, you know? And he's starting to figure out, because he said a couple of times, he's like, well, I'm going to go work, at the local grocery store. And I was like, that's time for money, and right now you're making this, and, that's like $50 an hour. And over there at the grocery store would be like $7.25 an hour. And he's starting to
Mhm.
like, huh? And, I'm like, so, you can be, my 9-year-old, he's making money. I pay him, at the end of the month. And in Georgia, and I'm sure in other states, you can hire your children. It's completely legal. You don't
Great
have to pay
deduction.
taxes.
Hmm.
No, don't pay taxes on it. They don't have
Hmm.
to pay taxes on it.
Hmm.
So that's one of those funny things where when we went in and did our taxes, and the first year was a total loss, because I put all this money into it, right? It's not a total loss. I mean, I'm paying my kids, but the first year we did taxes, and my wife saw the tax advantages, and the fact that I wasn't lying about paying the kids, because wives are like, that sounds like, that doesn't sound real, But when that tax accountant was like, oh yeah, it's perfectly fine. Just jot down in a notepad, what they did and how much you paid them, and just keep track of that. I was like, okay, easy peasy. So I
Nice.
mean, that's huge, because it's like just such a genius way to not give kids an allowance,
Yeah,
because
it's a tax benefit for you, and it's a great job for them. What are you paying them? Like,
yeah,
what's the arrangement? How do you pay? Are
I'm
they getting
paying
a
them
cut?
per unit right now,
Oh, nice. And
per
what are
unit.
they? What's your arrangement? Like, what's the price per unit? How much are
I'm
they
doing
making per
I'm
hour,
doing
approximately?
I'm doing them 25 cents each per unit.
Okay.
And this is only because I have to be there most of the time while they're doing
Yeah.
it. Still, so, and like I've told them, I'm like, hey man, here's my budget. I can pay you guys up to, about $1.50, a unit, so, but I can't be here, so it's funny. I'm teaching my kids how to work, man. They
Yeah.
haven't had to do nothing. They're pretty spoiled. So it is what it is. It's like they're not in there going, oh yeah, I'm working for my food. It's like it's just
No,
those lessons. I'm trying to get them to to learn how to work and value money
absolutely.
and and that's and because I was actually when it came to paying them, I was like, well, I do performance reviews. When we sit
Nice.
down and do a performance review, and hey, you did work a little bit more this week. Thank you very much, but your attitude was terrible. That sort of thing. So it's like so I tell them, it's like each performance review, I give you more cents. You can make
Hmm.
50 cents, you make 75 cents a unit, and they're starting to figure it out. I don't think
Man,
my
and
14-year-old wants to be on the bus.
the
So
benefit, exactly. Once that car, right? The benefits
yeah,
go well beyond everything that we've listed here. Just
yeah,
family under the roof, learning lessons from dad, getting an entrepreneurial spirit, knowing the
totally.
difference between working for, trading time for money versus
Yep,
helping build a real
totally,
business, right?
totally. Yeah, spending time together.
Hmm.
We spend time together, which is great doing that. My wife does all the packing always. So the
Hmm.
boys prep it all, but I don't know how she does it, but she can get anything into anything. I mean, like, so she's awesome. It's great. That all that's good stuff, and that's it. So as
Yeah.
far as like the business goes, it's replens. That's all I do is OA
Right.
replens. I have a couple of retail items, and they're just convenient to get them, and easy to get. But I generally, I think that's pretty important. And I think you obviously know this is you do this business any way you want to. You want 15% margins, you can get that. You want 8, you can get that. You want to do OAR, you can do that. You do it any way you want. So I say that to say that I purposely, like I will, because I've heard you say if you can pick up an extra $20 while you're sourcing. So I don't necessarily walk away completely from like clearance or discounts or anything like that. But if I see, if I find like one thing along the way that happens to be clearance, and I go, okay, that's easy enough. But if I'm like going for another clearance thing or another clearance thing, I stop myself. I'm like, no, go back in the dirt and go find the little gold nugget. Forget the clearance because it just doesn't fit my long term vision
Yeah.
of what I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to create. So and so what's so funny is that this is obviously nothing new. I just follow in what y'all teach. So the whole because that's another thing. Like I remember at the beginning, I was like, why do I got to come up with my own product? I was like, can I just flip stuff? That's what I was. And then when I heard you, and when I finally met the community and heard about you and the replens, I was like, no, that's it. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So the whole inch deep, mile wide. You know,
Mhm.
now sometimes I go 6 inches deep. And I'm still working on you know adding those ASINs, those
Yeah.
test ASINs. So that's what I do. And generally, what I try to do is because it allows me to my time, I try to source and buy, an hour or two during the week, and then everything just starts coming in, during the week or whatever. And I have the boys, open things and start to prep them. And then a lot of times on, Fridays and Saturdays, and I've been trying to stay away from Sundays, but sometimes, I just got to put in the hours and I'll put in, a 3, 4, 5 hour session on a Saturday or, I'm always off on Fridays. So Fridays might be a big day where I buy, a bunch of stuff or source. And so, whatever's lacking. So I don't have like, I have some SOPs written. That's one of my goals is to start writing so that more stuff and being a little more concrete. But
Hmm.
right now, just an hour or two tending it, during the week. And then if I gotta do what I gotta do because I'm hell bent on like even if it's one tiny box with 12 things in it, I'm sending something in
And
every
ship
week.
something
That
every week. Yep.
consistency, I'm gonna ship something every week.
Hmm.
So if I gotta work, more on the Friday or the Saturday or the Sunday, I do that just to make those things happen, just to stay consistent with that because that's definitely the key. And that's what I meant to say about like the Q4 was just and with the coaching was just my coach said, hey, try to have everything in by this date, October 19th, if I somewhere in there. So everything's so I just made sure that all I did was just I went a little deeper on some of my good sellers, just sent in as much as I could by the deadline that he recommended, and it was all there. And sure enough, I mean, that's all that stuff from that big shipment back in October, September, October.
Hmm.
You
And
know,
it's popping
sold all
now
that
because
in
we're in
November.
December.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
But
So
what you're going to see, I'm excited for you to see a January.
me too.
just another
Yeah.
month, man. It's just going to keep
Right.
on going because
Well,
they're
that's what I
selling
love about the
boring.
replens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boring. Exactly. And you said that like when the first time you said it, boring replens, and somebody
Mhm.
puts a chart and they're like, boring replens. It's like, it's like, yeah, just bore me all day. You
Yeah.
know,
I love those
nothing
boring.
wrong with
If we,
that.
we sold something today and I was looking at it,
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it before. My team found it, bought some. They sold it for $125, made a sale this morning. I think we paid 80, something like that. So we're making 15, $20. I'm like, what
Yeah.
is that thing? I
Yeah.
read the description. I looked at the picture. I have no idea what that is, but I know what it is. In Keepa, it's a good looking ASIN, right?
Yeah.
And
I know,
so,
I know AI is going to get more and more involved in all this. But one night I was sourcing, and it was one of the things that I mean, I knew what it was, but I don't know what it is because, that kind of thing. And it's got a bunch of digits and numbers and, stuff associated with the brand and the title. And I thought I had, so I found the ASIN, then I thought I found a source, and I thought I found the same thing, but it was kind of like, well, I don't really know what the numbers mean or the digits and all that. I asked Chat GPT. I got on Chat GPT and was given a whole, learned everything about the brand, what the
mhm,
thing was that I was looking at, what the
mhm,
numbers meant.
mhm.
Was it important for every number to be exactly the same? I had all those questions, and I just got an education on Chat GPT and and sourced.
I
And I
love it.
think the other day I asked Chat GPT, I said, what are the biggest categories sold on Amazon? And
Hmm.
it gave me stuff that I didn't even think about before. I was, okay, I'll start looking at that, and I just follow the way, that's been taught, that's taught. That's all, nothing, just step by step, very carefully. Cause like I said, I do think it's hard. And I think that there are landmines all over the place. I really do. I mean, I've had IPs, I've done a bunch of different, I've had a lot of things come along the way, so, but that's what I love about the collaboration, all the different people. Not only do I have coaching, but the group, and all and there's a couple masterminds, and everybody's just very free and generous with the information. And it just kind of like with the you remember when they raised the fees for shipping last year, whatever, everybody just talk and figure out, just what was going to happen. And honestly, when when a lot of that kind of stuff comes down, I'm kind of like, if there's not enough margin in there to cover that, then I really need to look at it. It's kind of like, just if the box costs a little bit more to send it, but I can't cover that, then maybe I'm just sending a bunch of poop. It's really
Yeah.
not.
You
Yeah. So
sell
it's,
stuff that's profitable, man. If it's not
yeah,
profitable anymore, stop selling it.
yeah,
It
yeah,
that simple advice confounds some people because I think what happens is you get emotionally attached to widget X that sells for price Y and makes me profit Z. Well, that's not
mm,
always going to be the case.
yeah,
That's why we say inch deep, mile wide, spread out your
yeah,
risk, diversify, because these ASINs are going to kind of come and go with this
yeah,
business model. But the nice thing is, at any given
hmm,
time, there's millions of them out there waiting to be served that are underserved right now as we're sitting here. Go find them. Just don't get
yeah,
emotionally attached. And if suddenly a policy change at Amazon makes some of them not profitable, stop selling those ASINs.
yeah,
Find
yeah,
more that
and
are.
yeah, because I've paid a lot for shipping and I've paid a little for shipping, but it's because it's just one of those things where it's like I'm not gonna not ship, and I think that's the important. I think that's the important point to make. That it's like, you know, don't make it to where you're not going to take the actions necessary. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that was, and for anybody seeing this later, just that it's all in the group, it's all in the community, it's all in pack, step by step. And then, and I guess, my goals for 2025 are, one, I opened a Walmart account, which, this is, as is the time to do it if you're ever going to do it.
Yep.
There's no way I'm going to diversify my attention there yet. But my goal for quarter one is to go through the Walmart training and at least do one rep, just so that I know
Yep.
the process and what,
Yep.
what that looks like. And on a side note with Walmart, this is what's so interesting about the business is like the different conversations that I've been having and stuff, and just a little gem, if I may, for our people. But I had a Walmart business person call me because obviously I source a ton from Walmart,
Right.
and they have like they're opening a business account platform for business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, there's not necessarily too many perks there necessarily, but what I didn't know is that there's also a business seller, a platform. So she turned me on to that today. And she said, I'll send you a link. There's an invite there. If you're already, selling to the on the public, if you already have an account, you'll probably be, just automatically accepted. And so she says, so if you're selling any kind of office supplies or anything kind of like business oriented, that would be just
Mm-hmm.
for our business customers. They have a separate
Interesting.
business,
Yeah, I
seller
wasn't aware.
business platform. Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't either. She just told me about this today. So anybody that's in Walmart that may want to look for that business seller account also, so that you can sell to their business customers,
Yeah.
because I guess
Well, I
they're trying
imagine
to.
there's flip opportunities there. I mean, we have people who flip Amazon to Amazon, Walmart to Walmart. We have people
Wow.
going into
See, this
Walmart.
is what I'm talking about.
Right?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
But
Walmart
yeah,
clearance aisle stuff. Going to
yeah.
Walmart clearance aisle,
You
flip
put
it
it in
onto
the business
walmart.com,
platform.
right? Or
Yeah,
flip it onto the business side if it's business
yeah.
supplies. And I'm guessing there's margin right there, right inside the little
I'm
Walmart umbrella. But
I'm
it's
sure
such
that.
an expansive thing. For
Yeah,
me as one of the leaders of this community, one of the more frustrating things I encounter is people who say, "Yeah, I looked everywhere and there's just nothing profitable." Like, oh,
yeah.
you haven't dug deep enough. You
There,
haven't
there's,
had.
I, yeah, it's one. I understand that. I have, I when it comes to my sourcing, this is why, like for me, it's like so innately, and not only that, but with the one eye thing, like when I came back from the hospital, I had a smaller laptop, and I was like, oh, this won't do. So it's like I got a bigger laptop, and other things like that. But anyway, the point is that I know what it's like to look and look and look and look. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
I have not found 600 ASINs to test. I've maybe 300.
Mhm.
So in my first year.
Yeah.
And so I know, I understand. So I'm the kind of person that, like, if my brain is smoking and I'm just I just walk away from it. I just walk away from it, because what I've
Mhm.
learned and what happens for me over and over and over again is 1 or 2 or 3 days later, I find 5 or 7, you know, and and that's just the way it works for me. And I'm cool with that process. So it's like, if I don't have it, whatever, if things are just not connecting, I just walk away from it, do something else, do something else. Like yesterday, all I really did for my business was just, strategize my cash flow for the next few months. And that was it. So it's like, I don't force myself to source if it's not working, which I
Yeah.
would, there's so many other parts of the business you could focus on that might take a little less energy or time. But if you're consistently trying, then, like what I said, what happens is, the next day I might go back and look at something I looked at the day before, that then it makes sense. All of a sudden it makes sense. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll pull the trigger on that. And then I'll find a variation, and, and then before I know it, I've done 5 or 7. And now I'm having the other problem where I have to put all that data in, and I'm, which is also, I've heard you say this before, which is like, go slow.
Yeah.
So I've learned to do that with my sourcing and my purchasing. Just, hey, if you're one ASIN at a time, is it where it needs to be? Did you put your cogs in? Is it there? Is it here? Have you listed it correctly? And okay, all right, next one. Because you can get into this thing of like, I found so many ASINs to test sometimes that I walked away from. I went through the process with 1 or 2 of them or 3 of them. The cogs are in, they're where they're supposed to be. It's listed right. The price is correct. The repricer is set. Okay, next one. And because I don't know about everybody else, but that still, can take some time, and it certainly is opportunities for mistakes.
Yeah.
So I've slowed down, everything checks better, everything gets put where it's supposed to be better. And then the next day I'll do the other 3 or 4, so it's like, I used to, earlier on, I would try to make myself go through that process with the 5 or 7 that I found. And, so again, this podcast for me is just about because I see the frustration. I'm like, hey, I get it.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's hard, but you can go slow and you can still make money. And there's a lot of benefits. And sometimes I just laugh about all the credit card stacking and the extension stacking. I was checking out on Walmart the other day. They had a new digital wallet option that you could put your business credit card to. They gave you $25 just for starting that. Then
Right.
immediately they sent you a $6 thing back on anything over $35. I was like, oh, okay. And next thing I know, I got a digital debit card with $50 on it for nothing. And and then like a good soldier, I went in my little mastermind group. Hey, y'all, Walmart's got a new digital wallet.
Go check it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those little priceless
uh,
tips and
yeah,
the way you stack points. Andrew and I, my wife, we're going to Florida here in a couple of weeks, impromptu invitation, everything covered because we just got so many points from buying inventory
yeah,
all the time, right?
yeah,
So all the little
yeah.
side perks of this
Hmm.
business they stack, they compound, and the family benefits and the little bonuses, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Hey, and
fun.
that's one of those I don't count towards my net margins. I took my kids' salaries in there, but and all my other expenses, but none of that.
Yeah.
Which is a ton of money. There's a
Oh, it's
ton of
another
money just
2 to 5% probably once you get good at this and add it all up, man, at
Yes.
least, if not more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So anyway, other goals for 2025, which is great because Grant's going to do a coaching thing on training a VA. So I
Mhm.
think that part of that would be good for me next year to make that happen in the first quarter or by summer. Get somebody to help me out there sourcing.
Yes.
And the other goals are I just want to increase my vision for what's possible because once you say, man, well, wow, it would be great to, have $1,000 day. It's like, but sometimes when you wake up, like this morning, I woke up and first I was already at 900 and I was like, oh my God, where can this go? You know what I mean? It's like, so, increasing my vision for that, what the possibilities are. And as far as revenue, maybe look around a little bit in the wholesale. I know there's also some private label opportunities. I have a friend of mine who makes his own coffee. And
Mhm.
I was showing him what I was doing on Amazon, and his eyes were like,
Mhm.
So, so I
Mhm.
know there's other opportunities there. And a good friend of mine who's written several books, and he wants to run through my store when he writes his next book next year when it comes out. So, yeah, those are kind of my goals and sort of the little, like you said, you get in on replens and you start to kind of like understand, and you could get into some other things. I actually have a private label idea, which one day I'll run by Nathan, or somebody and just see what that would look like, but just kind of
Yeah.
sitting on that. Yeah.
Yeah. The doors, and it's interesting to me that all these opportunities that you are, as you started off saying, I want to get away from people, relationships. I've got my
Right.
chiropractic, right?
Yeah.
But then literally every win and every goal that you've
Hmm.
mentioned involves a
Yeah.
person or a group or a mastermind and
I know.
unapologetically,
Hmm.
I will say this isn't gym wisdom. This is thousands of year old biblical wisdom. The
Yeah.
path forward towards a healthier version of you physically, mentally,
Hmm.
spiritually, emotionally, financially involves more relationships with the
Yeah.
right people,
Yeah.
right? Every time, every
Yeah.
single time.
Which
And
is actually a good segue because I was just thinking about it as you talked and you went to Florida is the Proven Amazon conference. Because
yeah,
that's cool because it's kind of we all just chit chat in the Facebook group and it's great. And I've already got my tickets for this year. I went last year. I did the very first year I did it online,
hmm
which was good, but it's definitely not like being in person because
yeah,
it's just like checking in, the family reunion, get to see everybody and get a hug and, a conversation. And then relationship can just continue online.
yeah,
So it's great. So that was a huge plus. And
yeah.
yeah,
It's great meeting you in
yeah,
person finally, and yeah,
yeah.
we're hoping for, expecting around 800-900 people again, which is what we had last year. The last 3 days
Hmm.
of May. The website is theprovenconference.com. Since you mentioned that, appreciate the
Yep.
shout out for that. Yeah, we're going
Yep.
to start pushing that pretty hard here, and
Well,
we've already
I
got
set
hundreds of
that,
people,
I set
hundreds
that up
registered.
for you.
So
That was my
I,
setup for you. Cause
hey, I
and,
appreciate
and
it,
I'm going to
man.
say another thing, and this is not to get too, but again, just, and I mean this, and I know because I've been around a little while. And so I get like sort of, I don't know, some of the hate or whatever, but part of my journey and getting through the cancer thing and all that is just listen. Your voice is so relaxing for me. Now I know that maybe not, maybe people get sick of hearing you or whatever, but part of this was just listen to those podcasts or watch a YouTube video, and again just going through that process initially, especially with the cancer diagnosis and losing the eye, and just I don't even know unless you've been through it. I don't think that you can really appreciate. I don't mean to say that because
No,
that's
but
but
it's
it, but
true.
but like yeah, when you're hanging out, when you're reaching out, you know, for a limb to quit from
Yeah,
drowning,
yeah.
and you put in a nice podcast. Here's this guy with this. You got this soothing. For me, it's a soothing voice, and I'm not a weird person. I mean, I don't mean to like, but it's you know, uh, soothing voice is chill with all kinds of good stuff going into your head. It's like,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, man,
Well, I think
yeah. So I want to, I want
I've
to
heard
thank you for
I've
that.
heard
I'm
that from
serious.
others. I
Yeah,
annoy some people, and some people say things
yeah.
like that, but to me, I take it very seriously. And this
I
is
know you
again,
do. I
it's
know you do.
ministry. It's
I know you
ministry,
do. I
and there's
know.
something that resonates with that's a
Hmm.
word that I've come to appreciate. There's a resonance. Just
Resonate.
recognize people who are looking for truth, and they experience it, and it just kind of flows in a way that syncs up with where they're trying to get to, and it works. And then other people
100%.
who have a different worldview and aren't in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish, it just hits them and it grates against what they're all about. They've got these sharp edges going up and down, and we got this smooth line going like this, and it just doesn't resonate. It doesn't connect. And I appreciate that, but I know exactly what you're saying. And I have those voices that do that for me as well. And I don't consider it me. It's God speaking through me to the right people with the message. And this is the battlefield I've been assigned to as a business building warrior, to serve great people like you. And it's an honor to be able to do so. And I thank you for the kind
man.
words,
I mean,
man.
you guys have been a inadvertent, huge part of my personal life, not so much the business, so much. I mean, who would have known 3 weeks after starting this, that I would get a diagnosis like that?
Yeah.
And
But can I challenge you with something?
It's crazy.
I've
Of
done
course,
this
100%.
with a handful of people I've done this with, and we're going to do it. And, we can delete this out if you're not comfortable with it, but I have a feeling you're going to embrace exactly what it is I'm trying to say here. But when we go through something like what you've gone through, it is the quicker you can get from, and you're going to do it faster than anyone I've probably ever seen, is you go from seeing it as something that happened to you to seeing it as a platform that takes you where God's trying to take you.
Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense? So instead of it's something that hit me, it's like, what does this now make possible that wasn't before? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see this as being, maybe it's in this community, maybe it's in other ways, but your ability to navigate this and then speak encouragement into others and then build a business with your kids. And like, this is going to open up doors of influence, and it's a platform, much like one of my favorite examples is Nick Vujicic. You know who that is?
The name, I know the name.
Yeah. As soon as I describe him, you'll know who he is. He's the Australian guy with no arms, no legs.
Yeah. The wrestles, right? Does he wrestle?
No arms, no legs.
There's a guy like that. There's a guy very similar that does MMA, I think. I'll have to look him up, but I'll text you. But anyway,
there, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But this guy, he sees what happened to him, not as an excuse to.
I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
He sees it as his platform. He's like, I wouldn't have this chance to speak in front of, millions of kids a year in high schools if I had my arms and legs. I'm not that good. But the fact that I've lost those things gives me an opportunity to speak with credibility, and people listen because I've been through something worse than they have, and they'll listen. And that's his platform now, right?
Yeah.
So you're a guy that's capable of seeing this as your platform. Like, what does this make possible? Now, I love
that. I love that question. That's good phrasing, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's a Dan Miller thing, actually. That my mentor who passed.
Yeah. Okay.
But even going beyond, what does this make possible? It's what is God trying to do through me as a result of this? Make it a very intentional part of your story. Like what's the next thing that what are those doors that are now open that weren't before? And to just kind of run into it, like embrace it. Like this is a platform. It's a privilege. It's a weird word, but it's a privilege now to have this opportunity to go where I couldn't have before because of it, right? And you become an excuse killer, right? You're an excuse assassin at that point, because what you do is you step into a room full of people who have excuses. But now you're someone who's overcome far more than they will ever have to.
Right.
And you're doing it.
Yeah.
So they got to decide to ignore you or resent you or block you out or be inspired by you. You're going to assassinate their excuses, right?
Yeah.
I love surrounding myself with people who are excuse killers, and that's what I'd like to do podcast.
Right. Yeah. But that was another deep connection for me. I was listening to Kang Dang's podcast, and I reached out to him on Facebook, and he friended me right away. And cool dude, and same thing. I couldn't imagine that. But
episode 754. I've got it memorized. 754. For those who haven't heard it, go listen.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best ones. It really is.
His kid was sick one afternoon. Like, probably need to go to the doctor. We'll see how he feels in the morning. Died in his sleep. And he showed no serious symptoms. Yeah. It just suddenly he's gone. Yeah. And Kang decided very quickly, like, all right, I'm going to start listening to God.
Yeah, exactly.
And he tells the whole story.
I know.
And I'm going to build this business, and I'm going to do it for this community that's helped sustain me through this time and for the kingdom. Powerful, powerful story. Yeah, another
Yeah.
excuse killer. Like, what's your excuse? I don't feel
Yeah.
like it. All right, you have to do better than that around here.
For sure.
we
For
got some
sure.
we got some warriors. They're going to
For
challenge you.
sure. And the other thing too is along those lines is that there's just so much help, free and paid. I mean, so it's not even like the other day I went to do something in my back end account, and I was trying to get insurance because I hit, I was like, okay, I'm at 10K now, I'll get the insurance. And I was back there in the account info and trying to mess around, trying to find what I couldn't remember exactly what my business name was to fill out the paperwork. I back out. The next thing I know, I get an email. Your account's at risk of deactivation. So, I mean, I know those moments of like, oh my God, what have I done now? And, and, seller support, told me it was a coincidence. I was like, that was no coincidence, man. That was just how much, like I said, it's landmines. So
Yeah,
I'm with the group. Those people, I get you guys. I get it. But the thing is, there's somebody to call, reach out to, drop a post in, you know, if you pretty quickly try to do something about like covering a month or two of your expenses, then even if the worst case, you're going to get through it if you're doing it right. So if you're not trying to pull some uh things that
scam.
very quickly will yeah very quickly this community will teach you not to do
Yeah,
some of these things. So
yeah,
which is great because there are groups that'll tell you to do those things. So it's like
yeah,
not,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Well, that's why we were, recently voted the best group for
yes,
Amazon sellers and the number one
yes,
podcast, best conference for
totally,
resellers. Like we won a lot of
yeah,
accolades recently. I'm very proud of
yeah,
that, man. And it is
yeah,
because we take those kind of things seriously. We keep people keep them from going off
yeah,
a cliff. We show them the
yeah,
guardrails better than Amazon
yeah.
does.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't remember how I fixed that, but it was not a big deal. It was all fixed really quick. And IP
Yeah,
complaints and all that stuff. But anyway, I don't want to. This is probably one of your longer
it is
podcasts. I don't
it's
want
a
to.
long
But
episode,
if
man,
you,
but it's been good.
yeah,
You've spoke from the
yeah,
heart, and we've encouraged.
yeah,
I know your story is going to encourage a lot of people, and so
yeah,
I think it's great content. People are really going
yeah,
to
you're the
benefit from it.
man. You the man. You the
Yeah, well,
man. You're next level.
I've got a role. There's 100 of us that make this machine go,
Oh, I
and
know it.
I've
I
got a
know it.
role that has a light in my
Yeah.
face more often than other people. But that's the only difference between me and the guy putting tape on a box over at the warehouse, man. We're on
Oh,
the same
understood.
team, heading in the
Yeah.
same direction, right?
Yeah.
As long as no one cares who gets credit, you can do a lot of cool things.
That's such a good saying.
That's the
That's
people. I think it was a Reagan thing, it's something along
yeah.
those lines. But
Yeah, I remember that, I
we've
think.
adapted it to our community,
Hmm.
and big egos need not apply, man.
Yeah.
Anyone who needs more spotlight, wrong community. People who just like solving problems, and you know,
Mm.
I could give multiple examples. I won't
Oh
belabor
my
the
God.
point, but hey, do you have anything else on your list that you were wanting to hit? Because we probably do need to wrap this one
Yeah.
up.
I don't think I do. I think no, I think I covered pretty much, yeah, I think pretty much everything that I wanted to. Oh man, I mean, just there's so many like, but again, just the new seller thing, ungating, just sell whatever you can't sell. I did an invoice thing for groceries, and I don't sell groceries. The only ungating invoice thing I did was for groceries, and I don't do groceries, and I don't do any of those. I don't do any of those. As a matter of fact, I try if it's a big sexy brand, I don't even mess with it. I don't even want to look
Mhm.
at it. I
Yeah.
just like there's so many no name things or things that are big name brands for us, like our age group, but not for the rest of the world for some
Mhm.
reason. But they're like
Mhm.
there's no sellers on them, but there's plenty of buyers for them. There's so
Yep.
much of that, and I would just encourage anybody who's new to, like you said, not get married to the ASIN. Don't get married to that ASIN. Just
Yeah.
just use Keepa, find out what's selling, see if you can find that, sell that, and you'll be shocked what you'll fall in love with.
Mhm.
Like you think you love Nikes, but I'll tell you, you can love a little OEM replacement part for a dishwasher too. It's
Right.
like
Right. Or stuff that you don't even know what it does.
yeah,
I'm very
yeah,
proud of the fact that in my catalog, there's just so many things I have no clue. There's one thing,
yeah,
it's just a little rectangular piece of metal. Like it's
right,
something
right,
plumbers use or something. Like, what is
right,
that? I don't know, but
yeah,
it's $7 a sale profit, and we
yeah,
sell 18
yeah,
a month. So let's keep
yeah.
it rolling.
Put
Right.
a swoosh on it and keep selling it.
Yep.
Love it,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
what I mean. So it's like, yeah, and that's just probably one of the biggest things that you see in the community is so many people just like getting married to some idea, some ASIN. They found something cheap. One of my patients actually tried to buy windshield wipers. He's a mechanic, so he bought windshield wipers from like Brazil and had pallets sent to him. He private
Oh,
labeled it, and it just didn't survive. And I tried to tell him. I was like, well, I was like, well, hopefully, or you could have just found windshield wipers that were selling, you know, and sold those.
find some
So,
ASINs.
but he had
Yeah.
to call them all back, and it didn't sell, and he spent tens of thousands of dollars, and
Yeah.
that whole thing. So you see that a lot in our community. So I did just want to, as far as strategies and stuff like that about the ungating issue, and yeah, and I don't even think about that even, and I'm gated in a lot of stuff, but I just don't think it doesn't affect most of the stuff I'm looking at. I'm ungated for now.
Yeah. The
There are the
gates just fall
occasion,
open. Yeah. Automatically
yeah.
once they know and
hmm
trust you. Yeah.
Some
It's a
things I'm
non-issue.
gated in that I wouldn't want to sell in anyway, honestly, because they're just too, there's, they're too sexy, there too many people want it, so I just like, never mind, that's good. But anyway, that
Plenty.
was it as far as the business side of things go. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, yeah, that I covered everything, I think,
Great
today.
tips, man. Great insights. And I think it's going to be a very encouraging episode for people maybe in a rough place, dark place. Life's kind of
I hope
hit them
so.
upside the head, and they can hopefully feel encouraged by this today, man. Renee, you've
Yeah.
got a bright future of leadership and influence ahead of you. I don't know what it looks like, but if you're a stock I'm buying, as I like to say from time to time on the show, man,
Thank you.
because you have an unsinkable spirit, and
Thank you.
yeah, I love it, man. Loved hanging out with you
That
today.
means, that means a lot to me, man. I love you and I love the community, and I mean that, And if whoever's watching this, come join us on Monday nights. I still can't believe there's not more people on that call, because it's too good, and it can go anywhere. The conversations,
Yeah,
can be, but there's always gems if you're paying attention. There's always gems in
yeah,
there,
some
but
good.
it's a place where there's been some people having a rough time, and they can talk and express that, and that's the time. That's a good place to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's always a great
So
conversation.
yeah,
Renee's talking about the Monday nights,
yeah.
5 o'clock Eastern. We use the same Zoom link most weeks. It's posted at the
hmm
top of our Facebook group, and
Yep.
that's all in the show notes. Links to all that for folks
Yeah.
who
Come see us there.
want
Yeah.
to hang out with us. We do it just pretty much
Yeah.
every week. All
Yep.
right, man. Well, I think I'm going
Thank
to
you.
wrap it
Yeah.
up here, Renee. I do need
You
to get
got it.
going, man. But I think it's been
Absolutely.
again a great episode, and appreciate you doing this today, brother.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, let me speak
All
to the
right.
listeners for a second. If you liked what you heard today, you want to hear some more episodes, we've got hundreds of them where I've interviewed students of the Proven Amazon course, students for our coaching program, hearing their very raw, very real stories, success stories in all cases, but never just all rainbow and sunshine and, ponies. There's always a dark edge of something that went wrong, and we love talking through that as well. But hopefully you found yourself encouraged and inspired today. And the good news is we've got, like I said, hundreds of these episodes.
Mm.
So scroll back in time and check those out if you haven't done so yet. And like Renee said several times today, get into our free Facebook group. We're coming up on 79,000 people as we're recording this towards the end of 2024, heading into 2025. Great time to get into a group of people who are business building warriors using the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple income streams. That's what we do here. If you want to join us, come on in. There's a link at silentjimdotcom along with the show notes today, everything else we talked about. I got a bunch of notes here, everything that Renee and I mentioned. We're going to stick all those in the show notes or links for you. And we'll have another great episode for you very soon. God bless. Until then. Before I let you go, one last reminder to our incredible sponsor, Sellerboard, thank you. And to our listeners, go check out the special offer they have for us. Hundreds of us use that tool to track our listings on Amazon and know which ones are profitable, which ones aren't, and a whole bunch of other really cool features. You can learn all about this inexpensive, easy to set up tool at silentjim.com/numbers. Go check them out. Tell them we sent you. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.